I think time to go ahead. You're live.
Okay. You want to get this off of it?
Closer. See.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're going to start downstairs. Tom wanted me to show you some of the things that I've gotten done down here. I think most of you know me. I'm Harry Kelly. And without Tom's help tonight, this would not be possible. Because I don't have a smartphone and I don't know how to do all this. So what we're looking at now is a station. Everything is 1/29 scale. And this was built by a friend of mine that died. And I was able to buy the station that he built and a pickle factory that you're going to see in a minute. And it looks better in person than what you're seeing on the phone, but it's really nice. Now we're going to move over to the pickle factory. And all of this is handmade. It's made out of wood, and there's some plaster strut used in it.
Hey, Cam.
Yep.
Can you just put on my cell phone? Make it the full screen?
Will do.
They're learning how to do it.
Much better. See.
Okay.
There's no idea.
Yeah.
Go down?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, next we're going to show you some engines that I built.
Wow.
This first engine is a Pennsylvania T1 passenger engine.
Wow.
And again, it's in 1/29 scale too.
Oh my goodness. Look at the size of that.
Is this his entire basement?
Now this is out in the barn, but
Out in the barn. Okay.
that's in the barn behind my house. I wish I had a basement, but I don't. I've always wanted one, but I'll never have one. All right, the next engine is an Allegheny. I just finished. Well, it's not completely finished, but I painted it the day before yesterday.
Wow.
Beautiful work.
Wow.
Nice and shiny.
Can you go full screen on that, Cam?
That is full screen. That's because of the camera. Shot with a phone.
It's because
I got it, but can't you make all of our screens just show that instead of us?
Well, but if he turns his phone sideways, maybe. There you go.
Oh, baby.
How's that?
That's better.
There you go, Tom.
Did it black with the black.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Harry, how much does that thing weigh?
well, I've never weighed one. I guess it's about 10 or 12 pounds.
Okay.
It's made out of PVC plastic, plaster strut. There's some brass on it, but not too much. The boilers are made out of PVC pipe.
Can you that, Carl?
And he's just now showing some buildings that I've just kind of arranged. I'm still working on this down here and still working on the upstairs as well. I don't know if I'll ever get either one of them finished. I've got too many projects going on.
Wow. What is the screen stuff?
Plus all the work they're doing at the museum.
Yeah,
Oops.
but I enjoy that. The barn is 28 feet wide and 30 feet long.
Oh,
Is that
wow.
right? No, excuse me. It's 28 feet by 50 feet.
Oh, wait, that's it.
So,
Oh, here's a
Yeah.
ceiling layout.
Yeah.
too. Oh, did the mountains.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. We're not doing mountains, Carl, in our house.
Those mountains are cut out of OSB and just painted. Now, the next engine is coming up that I built. The first one's a big boy.
Ooh, look at that.
What's the name?
Wow.
Gorgeous.
Pacific.
Wow.
And then the next engine is a Challenger.
Challenge.
And it's painted in quench-filled paint.
Hmm.
What's that?
Railroad.
Now, are these scratch builds?
Yes. And of course, the diesel is just from Aristocraft. I just stuck it on there because anytime these days you see them run the Union Pacific big boy,
Hey.
they always have a diesel engine behind it just in case it breaks down.
Ha.
So I just stuck that up there just because that's what they do.
That scenery in the back. Is
Uh,
that on the wall?
Harry, did you paint those mountains on that OSB or somebody else?
I painted them.
It looks wonderful.
Yes.
And a friend of mine wanted me to paint him some like it. And I told him, well, I don't know that I can because it was by accident that I was able to make it turn out that way. And I don't think I can duplicate it. It just sort of happened.
Oh, he's got lots of stuff.
Yep.
Yep. Wow.
Okay. We're going to set up here and that's everything downstairs. And we're going to start trying to talk about the upstairs a little bit, to try to explain what's going on up there. I'll try to explain. We'll have to get set up here.
Oh, the barn has 2 levels.
Okay. Everybody see that?
Yeah.
Drawing.
We got to shim it up just a little bit here.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that works right there. Okay, now the upstairs layout that we're going to see in a minute, it was featured in model railroad planning right here in 2013.
Wow.
And I did not build this upstairs. A friend of mine, Bob Springs, he actually built it. And he's very good at this, but it's not finished. So I'm on attempt to finish it myself. He's gotten to the point that he's gotten too old and too decrepit to crawl around up on the bench work and finish it. So hopefully with his guidance, I'll be able to finish it up. But the way this was designed to operate, you have the CSX comes in from Knoxville. This is freelanced. It's based supposedly on a industrial park area between Knoxville and Alcoa, Tennessee. And there's some things up there, a couple of things that are actually exist up in that area, but 99% of it is just made up. And the way it's supposed to operate, this is the CSX hidden staging track that comes in here, and it becomes visible about here. And it comes in this way to Loganville Yard. And it comes around and it drops off its cars and picks up any cars from the previous day. And then it continues on and goes back out into hidden staging, supposedly back to Knoxville. Well, then at that point, the local CSX Loganville crew, it stays here in Loganville Yard. And it takes the cars that were dropped off and it sorts the cars out. And there's some of the cars are for inbound Norfolk Southern, and then the other cars go on out to the local industries. I kind of skipped that part. This is the Norfolk Southern staging here that comes in this way. And this is all hidden from about here back. And what part you can see is this part. So it would come in and it would come into Loganville Yard and pick up any cars and drop off any cars that it had to. And then it would just go back out and hide. Okay, now back to the CSX Local. There's a CSX Local engine that stays in Loganville Yard here. And it sorts out these cars and places them on the tracks for either the CSX or the Norfolk Southern to pick up. And then that same engine does the switching for Dixie Paper, which is here, and Loganville Park is what we call it, which is out in here. And now this area over here is supposed to be it's like a farm supply, I guess you'd call it. And then right in here is, you're going to see is a cement plant. And over here we have a bulk propane company like down in Seneca, there at Miracle Circle, Heritage Propane or whatever it's called down there. And then this is going to be a scrap metal recycling yard. And this is a dump for bulk materials like gravel or things like that would be dumped here and loaded into a truck and taken back to the farm supply over here. Okay, and I said the CSX switches the Dixie Paper up here. And then the CSX engine would return to the River Street Yard with outbounds for CSX and Norfolk Southern from Dixie Paper. And then the Norfolk Southern or CSX would come in and pick them up. Now the East Tennessee, which is this track right here, and this is the hidden staging for it. It stays back here. It comes in and it brings in cars that are bound, or some for CSX and some for Norfolk Southern, from other industries that we don't model. It's just bringing them from someplace else. And then the CSX engine sometimes has to assist that engine to take the cars back up. This is a steep hill going up here, coming up here, so it can go back to its hidden staging. And that's kind of pretty much what it does. It's a switching layout. And the few times that I have operated it, after about 3 hours, we kind of just gave up. We still never finished, but it was about all we could take. So there's plenty to keep you busy.
Harry, how big is that layout? It's all G scale, so it must be huge.
No, that room up there is 28 feet by 29 feet.
That's huge in my book.
Well, in HO, that would be, you could do what we did upstairs in like a 10 by 12 room. So it's not really that big, but it's enough to keep you very busy. There's a lot packed into a small area. You got anything else, Tom?
No.
So
Move on upstairs.
I guess now we're going to have to move upstairs.
You guys take an intermission for about a minute or two.
Yeah, 'cause
Okay, Bob Folsom and Joe Fitzpatrick, you don't have your cameras on. I don't know, Ralph Watson, whether you have a camera or not. I see your dogs, but I don't see you. Everybody else I can see here. There's Ralph. Joe, you've got your mic on, but not your camera. Bob Folsom, you don't have anything on. And Jerry, you don't have anything on.
okay.
Lower left-hand corner of your screen, guys, you should find the controls to turn on your sound if you want to, or your pictures.
If they
Video.
don't have anything on, maybe we don't want to see.
They're all incognito.
There we go.
Yep, there's Joe.
There's Joe. Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
Bye-bye, Joe.
Okay, we're upstairs now.
The goal.
Everything, all the engines up here are battery operated and radio controlled.
Hmm.
So we don't have any track power. But from what I was telling you downstairs, the CSX engine, it comes in from
Check
Hidden
it out.
Station.
What?
Knoxville.
To know.
So, Harry, operationally, is upstairs supposedly a continuation of what's downstairs?
No, it's two totally separate things.
Okay.
Harry, think you'll ever make a helix to go from the downstairs to the upstairs?
The helix would have to be outside because with this, it takes a 20-foot diameter helix to be able to do that.
Oof.
Oh my gosh.
You just put it in your silo.
Yeah. Sounds like a silo job to me.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of a silo.
Let's see.
The CSX train has come in and it would switch its cars. It would come pull forward. We'd manually throw the switches and it would back up in and drop his cars off in the Loganville yard and pick up any that it had. And then it would depart out.
Harry,
Yes.
your scenery backgrounds are just awesome.
Yes.
Well, you can thank Bob for that because he's the one that did that. I'm not capable of doing this good.
They're so realistic. Wow, you feel like you're right there. Wow, Carl.
We made this a winter scene, a snow scene with just a dusting of snow. We didn't want 6 inches of snow on the ground. We just wanted a dusting because it's too difficult to keep a lot of snow clean.
Yeah, it does. There, maybe. Mhm.
And I'll explain all the scenery materials here in a few minutes. It's very, very different than what you guys are doing in HO.
Hmm.
I'm gonna pull the CSX out of the way.
My goodness.
We're not gonna actually do any switching tonight with it. It would just take up too much time.
Oh, is battery upgraded?
I will say that the batteries we're using rigid 12-volt drill batteries. And we use those because they're small and we only need the 12 volts. We've never ran one down. They last plenty long enough, and you've already got the chargers. You just, the hoods lift off, the long hood lifts off on these engines, and you can take the batteries out. They'll put them in the charger and charge them up. And if you need to use the battery in the drill, you can. So it's used for two different things. I'm letting this engine get around to where I can stop it, so I know where it's at. Now the CSX train is the only continuous loop we have in here. It could sit there and run if we wanted it to, just around and around, but it makes a lot of noise and it would be annoying. Now, Tom's just looking at this, showing you the scenery right now.
No.
All the track is that you can see is let's see, it's Sunset Valley, I believe is the name of it. It's aluminum rail, code 250. And we used the ties that came with it. It's just been scenic. So, but some of the switches Bob handmade, but most of them is our factory switches. But a few had to be handmade because of where they are. The factory switches just wouldn't fit.
Are those LGB factory switches?
No, it's
Aristocraft?
It's not Aristocraft. I said Sunset Valley. That's not right, I don't think. I can't think of the name of it.
Okay.
They're not micro engineer. Yeah, those are micro engineering. That's right.
Huh.
They make a G scale track and switch. They used to. I guess they still do. I don't really know. But yes, micro engineering, the track and most of the switches. Yeah.
Are those buildings that Tom is showing in the background along the backdrop? Are those in a smaller scale for perspective, yes, or are those all G scale?
They're forced perspective buildings, but they're still large. And there's only a lot of them. It's only half of a building. You can't see the back side.
Yeah.
It doesn't have, they're so real looking like that.
All right, the next he's going to show you, it's an abandoned paper mill. It's still got to be finished up, but. And now he's coming around to the paper company. It's Dixie Paper is the name of it. And most of these buildings, this is just made out of this corrugated foam board that you see signs made out of. That paper mill is probably 12 feet long, maybe a little bit more. He's still showing you the paper mill. It's a long, long building. I guess that building is more like 15 feet long. All right, now he's coming into Loganville Supply. This would be where you go buy fertilizer or gravel or whatever. Of course, it's not that this area is not finished up. We got it to this point, and that's about as far as we got.
Yeah.
And we got the interstate highway. This is one of the things that's really up there in Tennessee. This is the Pellissippi Parkway, and it runs from Oak Ridge to Alcoa, Tennessee. This was supposed to represent an industrial area that, you know, that this road went over. And this was the propane facility here. This is out in a center, kind of a center peninsula from this point on. And then this is going to be the scrap yard.
Mhm.
What kind of lighting does he have in there?
It's like,
Oh, but you can really see it. I'm wondering.
And now this part coming up, this is the bulk dump that where they would dump gravel or whatever, coal or whatever they needed, and it would be loaded up and taken down to the Loganville Supply. Now we're going to get around to the part of the peninsula that's the scenery is pretty much finished up on. Oh, I forgot about the East Tennessee. The red engine up here on the bridge is the East Tennessee that I was telling about that would come in. And it would come down the hill and drop off its cars down here in Loganville Yard and pick up what it needed to and go back up and go on out of sight to the industries that we don't model on the layout. And the bridge is scratch built as well.
Harry, when did you and Bob start working on this layout, and how long did you work on it?
Well, let's see, this magazine, this was published in 2013. So probably in 2010, we had it to this point. And it took about, I guess, a couple of years, because this was actually a barn loft. And Bob and I we were still young enough to do it at that time. We got up here, we had to hand build trusses up and put a ceiling in this and insulate it and wire it and fix the walls and the floor. I mean, it was actually a barn loft. So it had to totally be turned into the room that you see now. Now, this is the best part, one of the best parts. This is Pruitt Concrete. It's one of the parts that the scenery's finished up on pretty good.
There's ducking.
Yeah, I'm ducking down, trying to get out of his way.
It hangs down.
Since we're almost through showing all the stuff on the layout, I'll start talking about the scenery. Everything, every bit of scenery except for the snow came out of the yard or off the side of the road. The snow was the only commercially bought product up here. We could not find anything to represent snow as well as the Woodland Scenic snow. It had the sparkle and it had the right look. Now, of course, it's a winter scene, so any deciduous trees you see, those are goldenrod. I'm sorry, they're not goldenrod. The pine trees are goldenrod. The deciduous trees is a grass that the State Highway Department puts on road banks, is Cerisa lespedeza.
Yep.
And if you don't mow it, it grows up like that. And we harvest it and dress it up a little bit and make trees out of it. All of the rock work that is around the Pruitt Concrete is actually sack cement that we mixed up and poured out in a thin layer, let it dry, and then broke it up. The tall grass that you see that looks like the weeds, that is hemp rope. We bought a piece about 2 feet long, a 1 inch hemp rope down at Lowe's, and unraveled it and snipped it off and used hot melt glue and planted it that way.
Wow.
And all of the base for the scenery, like a lot of you use plaster, or Tom uses shaper sheet. All of the scenery base here is tar paper.
Oh. Where does he mean?
Okay, Cam.
Where?
Anybody else want to see anything else while I got it going?
It's under that. It's tar paper that's covering it.
So that's pretty much it. Has anybody got any questions or?
I've got a comment. I want Tom Langdale to come to my home if there's ever another home layout tour of my place, so you guys won't get seasick. Tom, would you be our permanent everyday home layout tour videographer?
What's the pay?
Gratitude. It pays gratitude, my friend.
Same as all the other jobs.
We'll double what you get now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's our treasurer. Our treasurer just promised to double your salary, man.
You get paid museum scale.
Mary, that is a fantastic layout. Thank you very much.
Yes.
I think, it's gorgeous the way it is. I think one of the things we may lose by being at home is the scale and size of this, being right up next to one of these scenes or one of these trains, so that you can see its scale in relation to a human being, I think
That's just
might even make us appreciate it more.
let's look over there. On the other side of the bridge.
I'll go around on the other side.
This is the low side.
See.
Yeah.
Background. Oh, you know what? Should have a, you see.
Perry, what's the elevation change between your base and your highest run?
Oh, wow.
Hang on a second, I don't think he can hear you yet. He's
Okay.
on the other side of the room. He's about what, 5'10"? 5'9", and the layout on that side of the room is right there at his chin.
Here's the bridge here.
Well, now
Yeah.
it's even bigger.
How high is your base layout off the floor?
Mhm.
I don't remember. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't have a tape measure up here with me. You have to remember that everything up here is 3 times HO.
Yep.
And that's 27 times its volume, because it's 3 times as long, 3 times as wide, and 3 times the height.
Okay, it's big.
Yeah.
It's hard to grasp, really how big this stuff is.
We stand.
This is, I think
So
this-
A typical car is how long?
that car is about 18 inches long. It's about 3 inches in diameter.
Okay.
Mhm.
Now y'all can see G-scale, of course, running around the ceiling of the museum, right underneath the ceiling. And Tom and Harry have been working on, for those of you who haven't been to the museum recently, have been working on adding a passing siding and storage tracks and at the museum in G-scale. So we have a bit of G-scale. G-scale is also LGB. It's what garden railroaders use typically to make garden layouts. There are very few people, I think, work in G in an indoor space. You really need a pretty big space to make it look right inside.
Most people that do an indoor G-scale layout do it in narrow gauge. This is one of the very, very few I've ever seen that was standard gauge with standard gauge engines.
On your upstairs layout, Harry, how many of these cars or locos were scratch built, and how many of them are store bought?
Everything up here is store bought, but the engines have been modified to represent a particular engine. And most of them have been repainted as well.
I envy the fact that you use dead rail and you don't have to wire your track at all, use batteries. I look forward to the day when that'll work in smaller scales, but how have you found that to be? Is that works well, or?
Oh, it works great. So we use 12-volt drill batteries that you go to Home Depot or Lowe's and buy you a cordless drill. And we use the 12-volt because the batteries are small enough. I'll take the long hood off one of these engines, and Tom can bring the phone up and show you what it looks like. Yeah. Let's use this. See, I've got all the long hoods come off of these engines like this.
Oh.
And this is the receiver here that we use. These are made by Aristocraft, and its purpose originally was that the track power, this would sit beside the track and you would remote control run your engines with it. And this is one of the transmitters here. This is an old transmitter. They don't make these anymore. What they have now is completely different. So you can completely run this from the transmitter. And this is the 12-volt drill battery. And you don't have to modify it in any way. Just use spade terminals. And it plugs right into the battery. So if you need to take the battery and use it in your drill, you just come up and get it out of the engine and go do what you're going to do with your drill, and then charge it back up and bring it back up here.
You got a Portis machine in there for something.
Well, on this particular engine, we didn't run this engine. Bob fixed this engine up that when you run it forward, the engineer, he turns and faces forward, but if you go in reverse, the engineer turns around and looks backwards.
Huh.
That's something you can do in this scale if you really want to do it badly enough, but you can't probably do in any other scale.
For those of you who might be thinking about dead rail, battery technology in G is not a problem. In O scale, it will work in larger diesels and things like big boys and big steam engines. In HO and ON30, you typically have to do a lot of modifying to make it work. And in N, it is, so far at least, impossible.
Andy, I have seen one, I have actually operated on one HO layout with partial dead rail.
I can't wait for the day, since I happen to believe that electricity is the work of the devil in model railroading, but it ain't there yet. I've tried with ON30, and you just don't have enough room to get the battery and the receiver and the whatever into locomotives of that size. In O scale, barely, but in ON30, no. O scale narrow gauge, no. In an HO, I don't know what.
They were running diesels. They were running diesels, hood units.
Yeah, big long diesels.
It was a Jeep 30 or so.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wouldn't call it a big long diesel, but yeah.
Yeah. The future of the hobby.
Well, is there any more questions?
Yeah, when can I come over and look at this in person?
Anytime you want to. You just let me know.
I got to go to bed in a few hours, but I'll give you a call, Harry.
Okay.
Hey, Sandy.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you ever had anybody with a live steam engine come over and run on your layout?
No, not inside the barn.
Okay, might be a little hazardous, I guess, with all that scenery around.
Yeah. I used to go to a friend's house. He had an outdoor layout, and people would come with live steam and run there. I would only do that outside because they would set things on fire quite often. This barn was built in 1920. There's not enough water in Walhalla to put this thing out if it ever goes.
Harry, thank you so much. It was a wonderful journey here, tour.
You're welcome.
I'm so impressed with the scenery.
Does anybody else want to see any more of the scenery, or are we good for that?
Good job, Tom.
I could look at it all night. I like the way you've used harvested everyday materials. What's your water surface?
Oh, that's polyurethane paint. Polyurethane, clear gloss polyurethane.
Just over a paint. That it looks wonderful.
He put down masonite, and then he painted. He's an artist. He can paint anything. So he painted the colors in and then poured the urethane on top of it. Well, we're losing the phone here.
Yeah.
That looks great.
Hey, Cam, you can take my phone off and go back to the laptop.
Thanks a lot, guys. I enjoyed the tour. I'll be seeing you later. I gotta run.
All right.
Thank you very much. That was great.
Really good, Tom.
Yeah,
Nice,
thank
nice to
you.
see you, Mac.
Thank you.
Um,
Really appreciate it.
I do have one piece of business. We need a home layout tour host next month. I've suggested either Bill Green or Jim Alexander or Ralph Watson, who's willing to give us a tour of the Crossville Museum since he has now moved out of town. Are any of you guys willing to step up for next month?
Jim's
Sandy, I
not-
got a suggestion. Instead of somebody's home layout, get somebody to go to the museum and show everything that's going on out that way.
You mean at the Central Museum?
Correct.
Yeah, we could do one there.
All the changes we've made and all that kind of good stuff.
We've done 9 of these so far. If we want to get through a month of all new layouts before we start seeing what people have done in the past year, we need to have 3 more. And Ralph Watson, who now lives in Crossville, Tennessee, but is still a member of our group, as is Jim Reese. I see him there. Ralph is willing to do one from Crossville. I have been bugging Jim Alexander about doing one, and I know Bill Green's been working hard at home, and I'm hoping he'll do one.
Well, Sandy, I said to you a couple of months ago I'd do March.
Great, you're on.
You forgot that.
You're on March. You're in March, so that means February. Ralph or Jim, can I convince either of you to do that?
No on Jim right now. I'm still trying to find my workbench.
Ralph needs a lot of technical support.
Well, we can give you some technical support from Cam. I don't think anybody's going to drive out to Crossville to help you do that. Have you got anybody there?
It's only 5 hours.
Yeah. Ralph, I think we've learned that it helps to have a cameraman, somebody who's walking around, showing off of a cell phone the video while the host talks about it. Have you got anybody there who could do that?
I might be able to draft somebody.
Well, that's wonderful. You're on for February. So
See how easy that was?
That was easy, man. So next month, Ralph Watson will be our host, and we will tour the Crossville Museum or the Crossville Club's layouts. And you've got layouts in several scales, I understand.
Z through G.
Yeah. So that'll be very interesting. And then Bill Green, you're on in March. And that means Jim Alexander, you're on in April.
No.
No, it doesn't mean that.
Nope, not yet.
I don't
Okay,
know, Jim.
February it is, Jim.
Jim, I'll double your salary.
Jim, I'll volunteer to come video it for you.
Remember, I've been fired.
Oh, yeah. So when we roll around to April, we could do the Central Railway Museum, or we could start over and see what Howard Garner and Bob Folsom have done in the year since we visited their layouts. We'll have to leave that one up in the air.
Hey, before Mac runs away, if anybody wants to get an idea of what their 1930-something standard gauge Blue Comet set is worth, it was on Antiques Roadshow last night.
Yeah.
It's the title of the show is something about Baltimore Part 1. Guy had a standard gauge Lionel set with the 3-passenger cars. They told him some years ago it was worth $10,000, but this year it's only worth half that much.
Actually, it's worth $3,000 now.
So,
Well, I always say when somebody asks me how much something's worth, I don't care what it is, I look them in the eye and I say, it's worth whatever you can get somebody to pay you at the time you want to sell it. That's what it's worth.
Exactly.
Anyway,
Those
while
of you-
I'm talking, if any of you are interested, I'd do a layout tour at my home and show you my full size 4 feet 8.5 inch railroad track that I've got on my property that comes out of the basement of my house. And all I need is a cameraman to follow me around while I crank up my motor car and go for a ride on my track. So if you're interested in that, I'll be willing to do it, when the weather gets warmer, but not hot. So it would either be sometime in the spring or sometime in the fall. Anyway, just put that on your back burner and think about it.
I'll put that on my front burner, Mac. I'll be in touch.
All right.
All right, stay safe, everybody. For your information, we're still on for a train show in May, and was announced yesterday that in South Carolina, those who are 70 and older can now get vaccinated. Keith and I signed up for 3 different locations today. We'll take whatever we can get as soon as we can get it. I know a number of you are over 70, and hopefully by May, we'll have enough folks vaccinated at even younger ages that we can go ahead and have a safe show in May.
I also got an email today that it's official. The SER convention has been moved from May to September.
Yes, it has. And the dates are September
19th, 20th, 21st, I think.
Yes, that sounds right. No, I think it's earlier, isn't it? I think it's the 2nd. It's the weekend after Labor Day. 9th,
10th, 11th, something like that.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. We don't need to know right now, but yes,
It's
there will
in
be an
September
SER
now.
convention in September, not in June.
When you guys get as old as I am, they come to the house and give you the shot.
Yeah, I'm as old as you are.
All right. Good night, everybody. Wonderful job, Harry and Tom. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Henry.
Appreciate it.
Good
Thank
night.
you. Good night.
Thank you, everyone.